Hey guys, it's me, Raina, host of Dreams and Drive. Before we jump into today's episode, we have a quick word from one of our sponsors.
To all the HBCU students making moves, listen up. For over 20 years, McDonald's has been at the side of college hopefuls. And with over $1 million in funding this year through the Black and Positively Golden Scholarship, Mickey D's is helping HBCU students rise and flourish into their graduating roles. This scholarship season, get ready to take your place when you apply for a McDonald's Black and Positively Golden Scholarship. Visit mcdblackscholars.com to apply now. Applications close on April 25th, 2025.
Hey, Dream Drivers. Welcome back to another episode of your favorite podcast, Dreams and Drive, where you'll learn how to get unstuck and take your dreams from park to reality. So this week's episode is actually going to be talking about career tips for millennials. A lot of us are not always trying to pursue the entrepreneurial path, and that doesn't have to be the only path. So I wanted to share some of my favorite career tips that I think can help anybody who is early in their career, maybe mid-career, and just trying to figure out what are some things that I can do to navigate. So these are some career tips that have helped me, just in case you want to know a little bit about me. I graduated in Princeton 2013 and have worked in a variety of careers. So I started out working at in the nonprofit space for a year, a post-college fellowship in the criminal justice sector, working in prisons, helping to establish college programs in prison, education programs. So that was kind of cool. And then after that, what did I do? After that, I had like a 4-year stint working in marketing at an e-commerce fulfillment company. So this was kind of like a warehouse for e-commerce companies. So if you were an e-commerce company, really big ones, you had to partner with the warehouse to get your products to the consumer. That's called like third-party logistics. So I worked for 4 years on the sales side of third-party logistics. So getting new clients for these e-commerce fulfillment distribution centers. Learned so much about business, got to really do some cool, dope things. Fun fact, Carol's daughter was an early client. Well, not early client. This is right before they sold to L'Oreal. They actually used to ship all their products out of the warehouse that I worked at. So I got to do some interviews with Lisa Price as part of that stuff. You know, it was such a pivotal point for me because I learned so much just about life, about what it meant to really grow a business. And then for a few years, I was working for myself, doing consulting, growing the podcast. The pandemic hit, had a baby. Got a really cool job opportunity to work at Paramount Brand Studio, which is Paramount's in-house like agency, I would say. You know, we're the content arm, branded content arm. So we do all the sponsorships, integrations, branded content, experiential marketing for Paramount's whole ecosystem. So I've been there for the past 4 years now as a senior manager, and it's been really cool to just understand just how the media world works and just what it means to really run corporate business at a high level. So I've definitely been around a lot of different types of people, a lot of different levels of executives. So these tips are ones that I think will help you along your own journey. And I'm going to make them really, really simple because why would I try to make them not simple? All right, but before we get into the tips, let us have a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get right into the tips.
Oh, the sadness you feel when you realize you've picked up your very last hot, crispy McDonald's fry. But what's this? More fries at the bottom of your bag? Oh, the joy! The joy! Oh, wait. Never mind. They're gone again. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Get more than you expect with the $5 meal deal, part of new McValue. 5 gets you a McDouble or McChicken and a small fry and a small drink and a 4-piece McNuggets. Woo! New McValue at McDonald's. Prices of participation may vary. McDouble meal $6 in some markets for limited time only.
All right. Are you guys ready for these tips? I know you are. So the first one I wanted to do is, I think for anyone, number one, your personal brand is important. I don't care where you go, what you're doing. Figure out how you want to show up wherever you are, whether that's the type of work you want to do, whether it's how you present yourself, how you speak. Your reputation is not what you think it is. It's what other people are thinking about you. So I would say definitely in the early years as a career person, focus on your personal brand and make sure that that's strong, because it's going to speak in rooms for you when you're not even in the room. And the thing I tell people all the time, whether they're just starting out, I work with a lot of early college graduates. Build something about yourself that you want people to remember, and it's going to follow you throughout your career. So working on your personal brand is going to be super important. Be polished, be unique, find something that makes you stand out. Something else that I think is very important in the early years is being adaptable and flexible is so important in any job you have. I think a lot of times we get caught up in this idea of the dream job, and I think the dream job doesn't always exist. And even if you do have the dream job, there's going to be times when you hate it, right? There's going to be times where it sucks. But if you're adaptable, if you're flexible, if you're always willing to learn and figure out what the company needs and how you can bend to what the company needs in order to make sure that you submit your job wherever it is, 100% going to help you. Staying adaptable and flexible, always keeping an eye on who is making the decisions and what type of moves are being made. I think a lot of times in jobs we get comfortable. When I say comfortable, sometimes we're just so naive to what's going on around us. I think it's so important to understand the company shifts and how those shifts affect you and how you need to show up because of that. So something that's very important too, when I talked about dream jobs don't exist. And the reason why I say dream jobs don't exist is because I think a lot of people just focus on like where they want to be. I want to have a glorious job working at Nike. Like, no. Okay, that can happen. We've had people on this podcast who worked for Nike before and have like really glamorous jobs and have been able to do cool things. But I realized too, like sometimes it's not about where you are, it's what you're able to do. Focus on building a skill. Focus on learning skills at whatever job you're in, even if it's something you don't like. So for example, when I was working at the e-commerce company, one of the things that I really started to understand was e-commerce terminology, just learning the skill set of what it means to be in the e-commerce business. Because number one, I knew that e-commerce was not dying, right? And that was 2014 and 2018. So it was still like earlier e-commerce days, and things have really evolved since then. But those basic things about knowing what a SKU is, right? Understanding picking information, order information, how things get sorted, warehouse management systems, all the skills of the job was helping me, although I didn't know like I was going to be able to use that skill set somewhere else, somewhere down the line. That's why when I have people on the show who are in the e-commerce worlds, I can understand what they're going through on the day-to-day because I understand some of the skill set and the terminology. So learn the terminology of your field. Even if you're not 100% in love with it, figure out how you can build a skill set, because skills are what keep you employed, right? Especially in this ever-changing world where, you know, whether it's your writing skills, communication skills, technological skills, there are probably very unique niche skill sets in the job that you do. So if you're a millennial thinking about, you know, what's your next step, I think you definitely want to think about what are some very niche or unique skill sets that you can be improving upon or building.
To all the HBCU students making moves, listen up. For over 20 years, McDonald's has been at the side of college hopefuls. And with over $1 million in funding this year through the Black and Positively Golden Scholarship, Mickey D's is helping HBCU students rise and flourish into their graduating roles. This scholarship season, get ready to take your place when you apply for a McDonald's Black and Positively Golden Scholarship. Visit mcdblackscholars.com to apply now. Applications close on April 25th, 2025.
I say be future seeking because I think a lot of us are not always looking ahead. Know your industry and know where it's going. And you can't always predict how that's going to impact you at your specific job. But I think a lot of us need to be understanding the future. You know, read trade magazines. Make sure you're just not on Instagram scrolling, but you're thinking about, okay, like what's changing? What should I be aware of? Being adept, always kind of staying on your toes, really gives you a leverage because you'll always have things to speak about. Let's say you're in job interviews, you understand the industry, you have questions about the industry. To me, that's stuff that I think in your career, you're always going to be able to leverage is understanding the changes that are happening and how the changes that are happening are impacting your current day-to-day, or how you can use those changes to do a better job at what you're doing now. I think sometimes, when people don't want to think ahead or scared of the future, that's when a lot of things really do just get, lost. So another big thing that a lot of us need to be focusing in on is the idea that personal relationships will always matter. And not even personal, professional and personal relationships. And those relationships are the ones that you're going to be leveraged. I just saw a quote on Instagram today. It's like, up your network, increase your net worth. I've never received a job that wasn't a recommendation. I never applied for a job that I've had online and got it. The reasons I've been able to get opportunities is because of people I've known and the amount of work that I've put into leveraging relationships. So I think one of the biggest things that you can do in any place of employment is to really focus on how can you build professional relationships, nurture them, and then make them genuine, but also cement that in the sense of these relationships that you're building are going to help carry you through. And so I think a lot of us, like millennials, we're like, but wait, do I have to be friends with everyone at work? No. That doesn't mean you have to be friends. It doesn't mean you have to be fake. It doesn't mean you have to invite people to your house. But just plant these seeds of building relationships. And I think just how you do that could be its own podcast episode. But I just want to leave you with a nugget of building relationships. Professional relationships are going to be the key to your career success. Trust me about that. Just write a note. We'll talk about the hows at another time, but I want you to know that it's something that is very, very important. I think too, yes, when it comes to building relationships, you should be on LinkedIn. If you're a career millennial, I don't care if it's just a simple profile. Set up a LinkedIn profile. Put your general information on there. Make it easy for you to have an online professional presence. You can be on Instagram, you can be on TikTok, set up a LinkedIn. There's so many opportunities on LinkedIn that people are missing because they're just not there. So I would say if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn, leverage that platform. I want to say there's probably over 1 billion people on LinkedIn. So many people sleep on it, but if you're a career millennial, listen, you should be on LinkedIn. And here's something that people won't talk about, but I think is very important. Your personal priorities and your personal needs and your desires for life outside of work should also be prioritized. I've seen a lot of people, and I've heard this before from people who've only focused on career, didn't focus on family, didn't focus on relationships, didn't focus on self-care, didn't focus on traveling, the other things outside of work, had regrets. Don't be that person who prioritizes career and then doesn't prioritize the other aspects of their life and their desires as well. As women especially, we have a reproductive time clock. If you're somebody who knows you want to have kids and maybe you haven't prioritized that, you and your partner, you might not have one at the time, consider the options you have so that you can still have options later. Or let's say you really desire dating, for example. Make time for that. Your life doesn't have to be only about work. And I think a lot of us millennials are realizing we want to be balanced. You want to have balanced lives, and we're seeking out jobs or experiences or career paths that allow that flexibility, that allow that work-life balance. And even as a mother now, one of the things I'm realizing is I need my job to be able to be flexible with me and be able to understand that I identify as a mother too. And there are needs that I have as a mother. There are things that are going to come up that I need my job to be flexible with, and also being okay with standing up and advocating for yourself because you know that those are your needs. And then lastly, I'm going to say this because although you're listening to this podcast because you might have a career and you want to hear these tips, there's probably still some of you who also don't want to work at a job forever and you have these entrepreneurial dreams. It's called Dreams and Drive, and I interview so many people on the show who have left their corporate jobs, left their 9-to-5s to work for themselves. The thing I will tell you is this. I think you really need to think about how much you want to be an entrepreneur. If you really want to be an entrepreneur, if you really just want to have a job that's more flexible, or if you want a side hustle. And I say that because I think sometimes people jump into entrepreneurship and don't realize all that it takes when really they needed a avenue for creative exploration of revenue generating ideas outside of the work that they do for their 9 to 5 or the work that feeds their children, right? I think it's a conversation, and that within itself could be its own episode. Maybe I could talk about this with a guest, but like, don't be so quick to jump into entrepreneurship. Really take your time to understand if that's really what you want, or if you want another path to be able to pursue something, but still not have the pressure of 100% having to do everything and have the pressure of like not having that stable check. Let's talk about it, because a lot of people I know are even looking to exit entrepreneurship because there's a lot of pressure now, especially in this economy. So even along those paths, if you are 100% saying, I want to go into it, while you're still at the job, think about all the skill sets and practice or ways that you can maximize the benefits you have. A lot of places have education assistance. Maybe you can go back to school, get more degrees, whatever that is, on the company's dime. I'm not saying like use your company, but leverage the benefits, leverage the resources that are available to you in that setting so that you can get the outcome that you want when you do go into entrepreneurship. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's so many resources that you can be tapping into. So definitely, please, if you're a career millennial, if you're a millennial who is trying to up in their career, wants to pursue entrepreneurship at some point, think about how you can kind of leverage and learn as much as you can just about business while you're on the job. Okay, so we've reached the end of this solo episode. I know I've been saying I'm going to go back to our interview soon. I really will. You guys just have to trust me. It's been really tough for me these past few months, but I'm taking my time, slowing down, and still trying to give you guys great content. As always, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in our next episode. Bye, guys.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.